Today in the current session, we will continue with chapter number 5 of Science 1, which is heat. And today we will look at the last part of the chapter that remains. So if everything goes to plan, we will be finishing studying the chapter today. We will finishing studying the chapter now. As usual, we will need our textbooks, we will need our notebooks, we will need our pens, and we will also need our pencils. And for the first time in this chapter, we will need some maths. Be ready. Mentally be ready for some maths also. So what does the chapter contain? If you remember, first topic of this chapter this year was latent heat. The heat that is not visible, the heat that is not apparent, because this heat does not reflect in the change of temperature. This heat is rather used in the change of the state of the matter, solid to liquid, liquid to gas, gas to liquid, liquid to solid, solid to gas, gas to solid, these things. In latent heat, we talked about two types of latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization. Sometimes it is released and sometimes it is absorbed, depending on the direction of the state. Then the second important topic that we covered was the anomalous behavior of water, and the water behaves in a unintuitive way between 0 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius. Substances when heated, they expand. Substances when heated, the temperature increases. Substances when heated, they melt. Solid melts into liquid. So in case of water also, when we heat ice, it melts. That is fine. But while the ice melts, instead of expanding, it contracts. This is simply because of the way the molecule of water is structured and how they interlock. So we understood, because of this phenomenon, when we apply pressure on ice, it melts. When we release the pressure, it becomes solid once again. We saw how the ice ka gola works. We also saw how we can cut the ice and then join the ice. We understood what happens because of this phenomenon with respect to erosion, freezing of surface of the lakes. So there are certain good things, there are certain bad things also. Remember, we also studied this phenomenon using an apparatus called Hope's apparatus and a very beautiful looking graph, line graphs, 2 line graphs. The third thing we studied was about humidity. It is the water vapor in the air, the gaseous form of water which is there in the air, and it is because of the constant evaporation that water undergoes, the water on the surface of the earth undergoes. Remember, evaporation is not boiling. In evaporation also, just like boiling, the matter changes its state from liquid to gas. But unlike boiling, evaporation happens at much lower temperatures. So there are other things also, other factors also, and as Khadija was saying, one of the important factors that has a role to play here is the pressure. There are other things, and we are not going to study why that happens. But remember, evaporation happens much below boiling point. We understood how we measure humidity. So we talked about relative humidity, absolute humidity. We understood about saturated air and unsaturated air also. Remember, most importantly though, that when the relative humidity is 60% and above, we feel it. If the relative humidity is less than 60%, we don't really feel it. We are fine. So in the current situation, the current weather we have in Mumbai now, we are feeling just fine. That means the relative humidity is less than 60%. The next topic that we covered was unit of heat. What unit of measurement we use when we talk about heat. I put it in orange because we will cover that once again today. And then the topic that completely is uncovered and we will complete today is the topic of specific heat, the last part of the chapter, specific heat. This is where we will spend the most time in the current session. The entire chapter in 5 points. So what exactly are we going to do in the session? 2 things we will do. One, we will see the correction clarification about unit of measurement of heat. Second, we will study specific heat in detail. We will see what the principle of heat exchange is. Consequently, we will understand what specific heat is. And finally, we will understand how we can measure the specific heat of a substance. It looks too much, but it is not. All concepts are connected to each other. If we understand one concept, the next concept will be very easy to understand. Thumbs if ready. Thank you. So let us start with unit of measurement. When I was teaching you this topic last time in the last session, I had done a mistake and I realized that I had typed something wrong on the slide when I was explaining it to you. But then I did not correct it while I was teaching you. I let it go and I asked you a question to force you to think if I taught it right, if I taught it wrong, if we studied something that was right or wrong. If you remember, we looked at a slide which was like this. We looked at the SI unit of heat and the CGS unit. SI unit is Standard International Unit, which is also called as MKS, meter kilogram second. But the common name nowadays is SI, and the other system is CGS, centimeter grams second. And I said that, if you remember right, I said joule is the amount of energy that is required to change the temperature of 1 kilogram of water from 14 degrees Celsius to 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius. And that was wrong. That was completely wrong. Joule is not defined with respect to the heat that is required to raise the temperature of water. No, it is not. Joule instead is defined with respect to the amount of work done. Work done, if you remember, is multiplied by displacement. So if there is a force of 1 Newton which causes or which results in a displacement of 1 meter in the direction of the force, so that cos theta is 1, cos 0, cos theta is 1, then the amount of work done by this force on that object is called 1 joule. 1 joule can also be written as 1 Newton meter. 1 joule equals to 1 Newton meter. I'm writing it for you on the screen. And this we studied in class 9 itself. 1 joule equals to 1 Newton meter. Force into displacement. The CGS unit of heat is calorie, represented by CAL, small letters. It is the amount of heat that is required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water from 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius. This is correct. I told you this correct, even in the last class. So when I was teaching you, I taught you joule wrong. I realized it, but I did not fix it then only. It was too late for me to do anything about it. So joule is defined with respect to work done, force into displacement. Calorie is defined with respect to temperature change of water. 1 gram of water. It is CGS, so 1 gram of water. And we take a particular temperature range of water, 14.5 to 15.5, because at different temperatures, the amount of heat required to raise the temperature from 1 degree Celsius will slightly be different. Not much, only slightly, because of other factors. And we take 14.5 to 15.5 just for convenience. If it is too cold or if it is too hot, then it will not be very easy to measure the amount of heat, the amount of temperature change, all that. So it's just for convenience, nothing else. And so when we try compare calorie with joules, again with experiments, measurement, science is all about facts. We figured that 1 calorie equals to 4.184 joules. We can also say 4.18 joules, that's fine. In that case, 1 kilocalorie, that is 1000 calories. If you are multiplying 1000 on the left hand side, we will multiply 1000 on the right hand side also, will be 4184 joules. What is the maths here? Maths is very simple. 4.184 into 1000. So the decimal point moves 3 places to the right. 4184 joules. Finally, when we compare the values of calorie and joules, we can very that calorie is a much bigger unit of heat. Calorie is a bigger unit of heat than joule. Clear hai na? 1 calorie equals to 4.14184 joules. So 1 calorie is more than 4 times of 1 joule. So answer is very clear. So when I was teaching you in the last session, I realized my mistake when the definition that I had written for joule was not in accordance with the relationship that I had written, that is 1 calorie equals to 4.184. That is when I realized that I've done something wrong. Very quick question, very easy fill in the blank. We have seen the definition of calorie. Calorie is the amount of heat that is required to change the 1 gram temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius, that is from 14.5 to 15.5 degrees Celsius. Then what will be 1 kilocalorie? Then don't tell me 1 kilocalorie is 1000 calories. Try fill in the blanks and complete the definition. Amount of heat that is required to raise the temperature of how much amount of water from 14.5 to 15. 1000 times more. 1000 times more. That means if 1 calorie can raise the temperature of 1 gram of water from 14.5 to 15.5, 1000 calorie can do the same thing from 1000 grams. And this 1000 gram can also be written as 1 kilogram. Right? This is the relationship. Kilo, calorie. Kilo is 1000. Let us now move to the last part of the chapter, which is about specific heat. And pay attention here, once again, I'm changing the order of the content. So we will first look at heat exchange, then we will look at specific heat. This will make more sense. So we are now at the last page of the chapter, last page of the theory of the chapter. Concept is called heat exchange. Very easy. All of us know, even though we have never studied this. Forget about what is there in the picture. Just think what we are doing and try answer the questions that come to your screen now. First one. Fill in the blanks. Temperature of hot object. Fill in the blanks with a less than, greater than, or equal to temperature of a cold object. What will come here? Greater than, less than, or equal to. Told you, very easy. So it has to be correct. Simple English. When do we say that something is hot or hotter? When the temperature is more. So the temperature of hot object is more than the temperature of a cold object. Very easy. Another question. What is the relationship between these two things? Heat in hot object, heat in the cold object. Heat in the sense heat energy. Greater than, equal to, or less than. Once again, the questions are easy, no tricks. Very easy, correct. Something is hotter because there is more heat energy, and it reflects in the temperature of that object. If the temperature is more, clearly, without any doubt, it has more heat energy. Our thought experiment continues, and it becomes more interesting now. Third question. What will happen if they means here the hot object and the cold object, they are kept in contact? There is one object which is hotter, there is another object which is colder. If we keep them side by side, touching each other, what will happen? Think and share. I'm asking you because it's an easy question. I'm asking you because I know that you know. Try, answer. What will happen if we keep a hot object in touch, keep that in contact with a cold object? Chand is saying the hot object will become little cooler, and the cold object will become little hotter. Yes, correct. Prachi is not saying, Prachi is asking. Prachi asks, cold object will get hotter? Yes. I can very easily say yes. And Usman is saying, thank you, Usman, for participating. Usman says, hot will become cold. Yes. Khadija is saying the active atoms of the hot object will pass on to the cold object and vice versa. No, that will not happen. This is, atoms will not be exchanged because this is not a chemical change. This is just a physical change that we will experience. So Chand has given the most complete answer, right? The colder object will become hotter and the hotter object will become colder. Why do you think that is happening? Very good, Alfia. Hot object will become cooler and cooler object will become hotter. Why will that happen? Make a guess. Why will it happen? We are not magicians. The objects are also not magicians. Then why is the temperature changing? Prachi is saying exchange between the two. Hot अपनी जगह पे है, cold अपनी जगह पे है. Chand is saying because they are passing their temperature with each other. Chand, think again. Is temperature something that we can transfer? No. Temperature is just a number. Is a number that represents the kinetic energy. Chand, now you have answered correctly. So has Khadija. Yes, Prachi. Now you are on the right track. Alfia, you are saying they are coming in contact. So then what? They are coming in contact. So what? So they are coming in contact, and the only thing that happens is the hotter one becomes colder and colder one becomes hotter. The reason is why. Yes, they are in contact. The reason is why. Very good chance, Khadija. Prachi. What happens is the heat energy. Remember, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transformed from one form to another. Also, it can be transferred from one place to another. And if you remember, there are 3 ways in which heat energy can be transferred. Do you remember the 3 ways, 3 methods? We revised it when we started the chapter. What are the 3 methods? What are the 3 methods of in which energy is transferred from one place to another, or heat energy specifically is transferred from one place to another, or one object to another. The formula would be C, C, R. What are the three names of these three methods? One is C, another one is C, and another one is R. Don't remember. First one is conduction. Second one is convection. And the third one is radiation. Heat is transferred by electromagnetic waves. It is called radiation. Heat is transferred by the movement of the particles. It is convection. Heat is transferred from just by contact. It is called conduction. So ideally, the answer I was expecting from you was, when we keep a hot object and a cold object in contact with each other, heat energy will transfer from the hotter one to colder one by conduction. Okay? This is how what we have studied previously connects. Conduction. Final question. When will this process of conduction stop? We have a hotter object. Now the diagram makes sense. There is a hotter object, there is a colder object. They are kept in touch with each other, in contact with each other. So when they are kept in contact, you have rightly said, the hotter object will lose its heat energy to the colder object. So the hotter object will become colder, colder object will become hotter. But till when? Tushar is saying when they are not in contact. No, I'm not saying that we are moving them. We are keeping them in contact. We are not moving them. My question is, will this transfer, or as Prachi said, will this exchange ever stop? This exchange of heat. And do you really think this is exchange, or this is just transfer of heat? It's not happening both ways. It's happening only one direction. When will this transfer of heat stop? You know the answer. Think harder. Prachi is saying when both transfer same amount of heat. Prachi, first of all, the heat transfer is happening from the hotter object to the colder object. There is no heat transfer happening from the colder object to the hotter object. It's not possible. Remember potential. Things always move from higher potential to lower potential. So here the hotter object has more heat energy. That is why heat energy is transferred, is being transferred. It is moving from the hotter to cold. Tushar is saying when one will lose its energy. Is when will that happen? When will we know? Alfia is saying when it changed the form. No, nothing is happening. There is no melting. Chan, you are right. Chan says it will stop when they get to the same temperature. Correct. Absolutely correct. The reason for this heat exchange is the difference in the amount of heat they have. And that difference in the amount of heat energy they have is reflected in their temperatures. Heat always moves from the object which is at a higher temperature to an object which is at a lower temperature. And this will continue till the time when both are at the same temperature. Then there is the potential is same. Then the heat will not be able to transfer from hot to cold or cold to hot. They will be both at the same temperature. It's just like that water bottle. When we keep it at a height, we can fill our tank. But if we bring that water bottle at the same height as the tank, then water will stop flowing. Same concept, potential. Now let us look at the diagram carefully and see how it is related to what experiment we did now. So at the center, we can see a hot object and a cold object, nothing to doubt there. And they are kept in contact with each other. Where are they kept? They are kept in a container. And the container is built in such a way that heat cannot go out of the container. Heat cannot come inside the container. Whatever is in it is in it. Whatever is out is out. So that we can study the temperature of these objects carefully. That's all this diagram is about. So the blue boundary that we have, you can imagine it to be a insulation. ना heat अंदर आ सकता है, ना heat बाहर जा सकता है. Just to make the experiment foolproof. Perfect. This experiment, this thought experiment gives us a very important principle. It's called the principle of heat exchange. And it is nothing new. We all know, and we could discuss about it without ever have studied it. The principle of heat exchange says heat lost by the hot object, the amount of heat that is lost by the hotter object is equal to the amount of heat gained by the colder object. Obviously, it derives from the concept of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So heat can also neither be created nor be destroyed. But yes, it can transform into another form. Also, it can transfer from one place to another, from one object to another object. So because we have kept the objects inside an insulated box, the amount of heat that the hotter object loses is the amount of heat that the colder object gains. And it continues till they are at the same temperature. Principle of heat exchange. This principle is very necessary for us to understand the concept of specific heat. That is why we studied this principle first, and then we will study the concept of specific heat. With that solid grounding with the concept of principle of heat exchange, let us now try understand the concept of specific heat. Oh, another experiment. And we are not in school. We don't have access to a lab, so we are not able to do the experiment. No worries. We will try to do as best as we can. Now, many of you have the science practical book also. So that science practical book has, I think, 10 experiments from Science 1 and 10 experiments from Science 2. And the practical book, when you read the practical book, you will understand how an experiment is written, how an experiment is documented. You would see aim of the experiment, apparatus required, chemicals required, procedure, observation, conclusion. So, if we are doing this experiment, what are we doing? We are taking a tray, or you can say we are taking a vessel which is full of wax. Wax means moam. Wax. You know, wax melts. When we heat it, it melts. All solids melt. Melting wax is very easy. And we also take 3 balls. 3 balls of 3 different metals. Iron, copper, lead. Now let us bring in some chemistry here. Tell me the chemical symbol for iron. What is the chemical symbol of iron? Very good. Fe. What is the chemical symbol for copper? Cu. Correct. What is the chemical symbol for lead? Excellent. It is Pb, plumbum. Pb, Latin name is plumbum. So we are taking 3 balls of 3 different metals. And we are not putting them in wax. No, not so soon. In another container, we have boiled water. We have taken water and we have boiled it. Or say we are boiling it. And in that container, we put these 3 balls: iron, copper, and lead balls. Now, if we are taking these balls, clearly we are able to carry it. They are not very hot. And we are putting them in boiling water. Tell me what will be the temperature of the water. Now all of you should know. What will be the temperature of the boiling water? Speak, it will be faster. If you are typing, that's okay. Correct, 100 degrees Celsius. So the water is at 100 degrees Celsius. We are boiling. So yes, it is at 100 degrees Celsius. And we are putting this iron, copper, and lead balls in there. Which is hotter, which is colder? Are the balls hotter or is the water hotter? Which is hotter? Boiling water is hotter. Of course, हमने ये जो iron, copper and lead ball लिया है, हमने उसको गर्म नहीं लिया है. And we are taking these cold balls of metals and putting in the boiling water, which is hotter. Now apply the principle of heat exchange and tell me what will happen. Heat exchange says heat flows from the hotter object to colder object. The amount of heat lost by the hotter object is equal to the amount of heat gained by the colder object. So what will happen when we put the cold iron, copper and lead balls in hot water? Very good. Heat of the water will transfer in these balls. Absolutely correct. Okay. So हमने, now imagine we will keep these balls in some time in the water, enough time. Now if I ask you, what will be the temperature of these balls, iron ball, copper ball and lead ball? Again, apply the principle of heat exchange. Chand is saying 50. No. Chanda is saying 100. Correct. Remember, Chand, the heat will exchange till the temperature of both hot and cold object are same. We are boiling the water. So the water temperature of the water remains at 100 degrees Celsius. So the temperature of the balls will also rise to 100 degrees Celsius and remain there. And after some time, what we do is we remove the balls from the boiling water and we put them in this container which has wax in it. Are you with me? So we took water in a container, we boiled the water, we put these cold balls of metals in that container. After some time, just by understanding what the principle of heat exchange is, we know that these balls will also be at the temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. We remove them from the boiling water and we put them in the tray or in the container where we have wax. Wax को तो हमने गर्म नहीं किया है. It is at the room temperature. Room temperature, say in India, is between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius or 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. The balls are at temperature much higher at 100 degrees Celsius. Think what will happen. We are putting hot balls on cold wax. What will happen? Principle of heat exchange. Chand is saying heat will exchange. Oh, yes, heat will be exchanged. What will be the direction? Who will lose? Who will gain? Or what will lose the heat and what will gain the heat? Correct, Chan? Wax balls will lose the heat and wax will gain the heat. Of course, the hotter thing will lose the heat. The colder thing will gain the heat. Thank you, Aman. Correct. Right. Now, what happens when we heat the wax? It will melt. Prachi has already said, Chanda has already said, it will melt the wax. Yes, that will happen. So when we are taking these hot balls of metals, they are of different elements, but they are at the same temperature. And when we keep them on wax, again by principle of heat exchange, the balls will lose the energy and the wax will gain energy. So the temperature of the balls will reduce, the temperature of the wax will increase, it will melt the wax. So ball नीचे चला जाएगा. Now when the balls go down, what we observe is they do not go down by the same amount. They do not go down by the same height. Iron goes maximum. Lead ball travels the least amount of height. The copper ball is somewhere in between iron and lead. I repeat. Essentially, we heated the balls. We heated the balls to the same temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. Then we took the balls and kept on wax. What we are seeing is the amount of melting that each of these balls causes is different. If the amount of melting was same, then all the balls would have gone down to the same height. It is different. This is our observation. Already you will be confused. अरे ऐसा होगा ही नहीं. नहीं ऐसा होता है. When we do the experiment, you will see. ऐसा होता है. We would think कि ऐसा नहीं होगा, लेकिन ऐसा है. ऐसा होता है. Now the question arises. Why is it happening like this? What can we conclude? हम इससे क्या अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं? हम इससे क्या जानकारी प्राप्त कर सकते हैं कि ऐसा क्यों हुआ होगा? Balls of same mass, balls of same size, but balls of different metals. All of them heated to the same temperature, 100 degrees Celsius. But they melt the wax by different amounts. Why? When will this happen? Clearly, wax will melt more if it gets more heat. Wax would melt less if it gets less heat. But remember, all the three balls were heated to the same temperature, 100 degrees Celsius. So we would think that all of them are at the same temperature, so all of them would have same amount of heat. But if all of them had the same amount of heat, then they would have melted the wax by the same amount. All three of them would have gone to the same height, but they did not. They go to different heights because they melt differently, different amounts of wax. And that happens because the heat that each of them had was different. Very important. Although all three of them were at the same temperature, they were not having the same amount of heat. Now look at the picture again and tell me, which ball had the maximum heat in it? Iron, copper, or lead? So fast. इतने जल्दी सबने आंसर किया. Correct. Iron. Which ball had the lowest amount of heat in it? Very good. And which ball had some heat in between iron and lead? Common sense, right? The most important part here is, and which is counterintuitive. If we हमको लगेगा नहीं कि ऐसा होता है, लेकिन but this is how it is. Just because temperature is same, we cannot say that its heat content is same, heat energy is same. It is not. Remember, मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया है कहीं पर, water at 100 degrees Celsius and steam at 100 degrees Celsius, which will be more dangerous? Which will cause more heat damage, burn, bigger burn?
समझे क्या? तो कुछ बोलो क्या?
Water at 100 degrees Celsius or heat or steam at 100 degrees Celsius? Which will cause more deeper burns? Prachi is saying water. Just look at the picture again. What decides the damage? Is it the temperature or is it the heat? Temperatures were same. It is the heat that is causing the damage. So if I'm asking which is more dangerous, 100 degrees water at 100 degrees Celsius or steam at 100 degrees Celsius, think which has more energy in it, which has more heat energy in it, water or steam? Aarti is saying steam. Aarti, can you tell me, or Alfia, can you tell me, why are you saying that steam will be more dangerous? Why are you saying that steam at 100 degrees Celsius has more energy? We know the answer already. It's something to do with a word which starts with an L. Why? Why is steam at 100 degrees Celsius? Correct, Tushar. Latent heat. Water at 100 degrees Celsius has some amount of heat. But for it to become water vapor, steam, we have to change the state. And that change of state happens only when the latent heat of vaporization is absorbed. So the heat that 100 degrees Celsius steam has is the heat that 100 degrees Celsius water has plus the latent heat of vaporization. The heat energy that steam has is more than the steam energy of boiling water. Latent heat makes the difference. Okay. Let us be very careful about this. Heat cannot always be reflected in temperature. And it is the heat which is the karta dharta of all this phenomenon, not the temperature. Temperature is just a proxy for heat. And that too, not always a good proxy, because sometimes it cannot reflect the correct amount of heat. The ultimate conclusion is, although we heated iron ball, copper ball, lead ball of same size, same mass, by same temperature, the amount of heat that they absorbed was not same. They were different. And this property of the material, of the substance, that decides how much heat it will absorb while its temperature is changing, it is called the specific heat. It is also called as the specific heat capacity. Now, if we have to define, we have to use mathematics and we have to be precise. So we will say specific heat is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of a unit mass. In SI unit mass will be 1 kilogram. In CGS units, the unit mass will be 1 gram. Unit mass of an object. So in our case, our experiment, it was iron, copper, lead. By 1 degree Celsius is called the specific heat of that object. किसी सामान का एक यूनिट मास का टेम्परेचर अगर हमको 1 डिग्री सेल्सियस बढ़ाना है, so the amount of heat required to do that on the specific heat. Sounds like the definition of calorie. It is not exactly the definition of calorie. Definition of calorie uses the substance as water. Here we are saying any substance. If we measure the amount of heat that is required to change the temperature of that substance, unit mass of that substance, by 1 degree Celsius, it is called the specific heat. Look at the table. Specific heat of 8 different substances are given. Water, paraffin. Paraffin is a polymer. Kerosene, you know what it is. Aluminium, a metal. Iron, copper, silver, mercury, metals. Do we need to remember everything? No. Do we need to remember something? Yes. This value we must remember. The specific heat for water is 1 calorie per gram degree centigrade. 1 calorie. Can someone tell me why is it 1? It comes from the definition that we studied in the last class, and we revised, we corrected, we re-looked at it this class. Connect it and tell me why is the specific heat of water just 1? So perfect number. Remember what the definition of calorie is. Calorie is that amount of heat that is required to increase the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. If I ask you how much energy, how much heat energy is required to change the temperature of 1 gram of water from 1 degree Celsius, your answer will be 1 calorie. That is how we have defined the unit calorie. Now if we say, see, we are saying amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature. We have defined calorie like this. We said calorie is the amount of heat that is required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water. Substance, यहाँ पे क्या है? Water. So 1 degree Celsius. So of course it has to be 1. This is the very definition of calorie. अगर हमने किसी और यूनिट को ऐसे डिफाइन किया होता तो वो यूनिट आता यहाँ पे. Because we have defined calorie like this, we are getting specific heat of water as 1. No other reason. Now let's compare water with iron. The specific heat of iron is 0.1, so less, 1/10 of the specific heat of water. 1/10. Now you tell me, do we need more heat to increase the temperature of water, or do we need more heat to increase the temperature of iron? Very easy question. Specific heat of water is 1 calorie per gram. Specific heat of iron is 0.1 calorie per gram. Specific heat means amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of the substance, unit mass of the substance, by 1 degree Celsius. किसका ज्यादा है? What needs more heat? Iron or water? Very clearly in the table, the specific heats of 8 different substances, including water, are given in the descending order. That means of these 8 substances, water will need most amount of heat to change the temperature by 1 degree Celsius, and mercury will take the least amount of heat to change the temperature by 1 degree Celsius. It's very clear. Now remember the metals that we used in the experiment. We used iron, we used copper, and we used lead. So let us look at iron and let us look at copper. The specific heat of iron is more than the specific heat of copper. That means to raise the temperature of iron to 100 degrees Celsius and to raise the temperature of copper to 100 degrees Celsius, the heat required by iron will be more than the heat required by copper, because the specific heat of iron is more than the specific heat of copper. So when we put the metal balls, iron, copper, and lead in the boiling water, although iron, copper, lead, they were all heated to 100 degrees Celsius, the amount of heat that iron received was more than the amount of heat that copper received or copper absorbed. This is because of this property, which is called specific heat. Now, because iron absorbed more heat, it had more heat and it gave out more heat when it was put on the wax. And so it melted more wax, it went further down than copper. Now, in this table, we do not have the specific heat of lead given. But from our experiment, we know that lead could melt even less wax. That means the specific heat of lead must be even less than that of copper. Very simple. That this specific heat is denoted by a letter which is small c. It's a standard. Also, if we measure the specific heat by SI unit, it will be joules per degree centigrade because joules is the SI unit of heat. And if we measure this specific heat by in CGS unit, then it will be calories per gram per degree centigrade. यहाँ पे छूट गया, यहाँ पे कहाँ गया? There is a printing mistake here. Please do correct. Joules per kg degree Celsius. Yes, ये सही लिखा है. Calories per gram degree Celsius. Make this correction if the error is there in your textbook also. Heat by mass into degree Celsius per degree Celsius. ऐसा दोनों को बराबर बराबर लिख. Clearing the screen. Very simple question directly from the textbook. If objects of equal masses are given equal amount of heat, their final temperature will be different. In the experiment, our final temperature was same, but they absorbed different amounts of heat. This question asks that if we give them the same amount of heat, their temperature will be different. Of course. What will be the answer? Why is this happening? What is this property called? Very good. It is the same property, which is specific heat. Specific heat. So if we give the same amount of heat, the temperature will rise by different amounts for different materials. And if we change the temperature by the same amount for different materials, that means we have given different amounts of heats to each of them. Same thing said in different ways. Good, thank you. I'm happy that you have understood. Another question, which is not a fill in the blanks question, it's a longer question. The question is, what is meant by specific heat capacity? Always remember, specific heat and specific heat capacity, they are used interchangeably. They mean the same thing. Specific heat or specific heat capacity. So it is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of unit mass of substance. Don't say object, say substance by 1 degree Celsius. Second part, how will you prove experimentally that different substances have different specific heat capacities? बोलो क्या लिखेंगे यहाँ पर? How will we prove experimentally? Excellent, Prachi. We will do the same experiment. We will say, we will take objects of different materials, but same mass. We will heat them by to the same temperature, and then we will see how much energy they give out. So we may put them in a tray of wax. जो experiment अभी हमने पढ़ा, वही बता सकते हैं. Done. So we know everything. It's just asked in a different way. Good, you have understood. So how is this? How do we measure? We have said that when we are heating something, whether it is conduction, convection, or radiation, some heat is absorbed or released, right? How do we measure? To measure that, we have a simple mathematical formula. Here, capital Q is the heat which is absorbed or released. It can be calculated by multiplying these three things. M is the mass of the substance. Is it 1 kilogram? Is it 1 gram? Is it 10 grams? However it is, how much ever it is. C, small c, is the specific heat or specific heat capacity. And delta T is the change in temperature. Change in temperature. Suppose initial temperature was T1. And after it was heated, it absorbed some heat, it became T2 final. So delta T is final minus initial. For example, our mass can be in kilogram. Our delta T will be in centigrades. Centigrade. And if you remember, the unit of measurement of specific heat is joules per kg centigrade. Different amounts, numbers I've skipped. Kg divided by kg is 1. Centigrade divided by centigrade is 1. What we are left with is joule, is the unit of heat. If, on the other hand, we have the mass in gram, we have the delta T in centigrade. Centigrade is the same unit of heat in both systems. Then the specific heat will now be in calorie per gram degree Celsius. Gram divided by gram, centigrade divided by centigrade. What is left is calorie, which is unit of heat. So, if the mass increases, then the amount of heat required is also increasing. If the temperature, change in temperature, if we need to heat by much bigger temperature, then more heat is required. And if the specific heat is more, then more heat is required. यही तो है. अगर मैंने आपको पूछा होता कि हम 1 ग्राम पानी लेंगे और 1 किलोग्राम पानी लेंगे, किसको हीट करने के लिए ज्यादा हीट चाहिए? Obviously, तुम कहते मुझे जिसका ज्यादा मास है. So Q is directly proportional to M. If I had asked you, पानी को हमको 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस गर्म करना है या फिर 4 डिग्री सेल्सियस गर्म करना है, किसके लिए ज्यादा लगेगा? You would have told me 4 डिग्री वाले को ज्यादा लगेगा. When we combine these two things, directly proportional to M into delta T. Using mathematics, using a constant of proportionality, we will say M into delta T. This C, mathematically the constant of proportionality, is nothing but the specific heat capacity. That is why the formula is Q equals to M into C into delta T. Why are we then saying absorbed or released? Very interesting question. Absorbed or released. Remember, temperature can increase, temperature can decrease also. If we start with T1 and end with T2, we will say that it is heating, that is, heat is absorbed only when T2 is more than T1. What is happening if T2 is less than T1? That means it is losing the heat. कहीं से तो heat निकल के आ रहा है ना? So if something is gaining the heat, something else is losing the heat. So there also the concept of specific heat is applicable. So again, go back to the heat exchange. The hotter object is losing energy. The colder object is gaining heat energy. Delta T is always final minus initial. If final minus initial is positive, that means temperature has increased. That means we have heated it. If on the other hand, final minus initial is negative, that means T2 is less than T1. That means heat has been lost, released. What comes next is the application of this theory. Application of the theory of heat exchange, application of the concept of specific heat. And that application is, how do we measure the specific heat of a substance? We will measure the specific heat of the substance using something called as a calorimeter. But before that, because we are on time, let us try solve a question, which is an example question from page number 69 of your textbook. Question is, how much heat energy is necessary to raise the temperature of 5 kilogram of water from 20 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius? Don't worry. This is the first time we are doing such type of question, but we know already. Absolutely do not worry. I will write from this question that M equals to 5 kg. Then I will ask you, what is T1? What is T2? Speak or type. How much is T1? Very good. How much is T2?
100 degrees Celsius.
Very good. 100 degrees Celsius. What is the substance that we are talking about? What is this substance? आसानी होना चाहिए. It is the water. Very good. Substance is water. So don't forget about that. Substance is water. Now, if T1 is 20, T2 is 100, if I ask you what is delta T, and remember delta T is T2 minus T1, tell me how much is it? Very easy, no? We are heating it, temperature is increasing. So all positive numbers, 100 minus 20, which is 80. Okay. Question asks, how much amount of heat is necessary? अभी हमने पढ़ा heat energy necessary. I'm so sorry. Heat energy necessary is denoted by alphabet Q, capital Q. And we calculate it as M into C into delta T. M we know is 5 in kg. C, I asked you to remember, of water. What is it? What is the value of C, small c, for water? Okay, Prachi is saying 1. I'll write 1. And what is the delta T here? It is 20. But there is a problem with this formula. The problem is, हमने यहाँ पे ये किलोग्राम में लिया, लेकिन हमने जो specific heat लिया है, that is calorie per grams. So we should use grams. So 5,000. Multiply and find out. So 5,000 into 20 is, no, मैंने अच्छा 80 होना चाहिए था. I'm very sorry. 80 होना चाहिए था. कितना हुआ? 5 into 8 40. उसके बाद 3 और 4 0. Calories. But then you will look and say, sir, ये answer तो नहीं है. Of course, it's the same answer. 400,000 calories. That means 400 kilocalories. Now you get the answer. This is also correct. So be careful when we are finding out the amount of heat required and we are using specific heat, then our specific heat and our mass have to be in proper units. If we have taken the specific heat in what? Calories per gram degree Celsius, then our mass has to be in grams. Otherwise, it will not work. We have studied so much about heat, about transfer of heat, and about specific heat. We have looked at the effect of specific heat in a very interesting experiment with iron ball, copper ball, lead ball. But how do we find the specific heat of a material? For that, we use an instrument which is called calorimeter. I'm 100% sure that this word, this instrument, you have already come across in previous classes when the last time you studied heat. It was not in class 9 before that. The method is called mixing method and the instrument that is used is called a calorimeter. On the left hand side is the diagram of a calorimeter as it looks from outside. Different parts. On the right hand side, the different connections are shown. So uske andar mein, of course, it is covered by a material which is heat insulating. There is a container inside it and it contains water. And there is a stirrer. Stirrer means usko ghumane wala. So whatever thing, whatever substance we want to measure the specific heat of, if you want to measure the specific heat of iron, we will take a hot iron and put it in the calorimeter. We will measure the different temperatures using the thermometers. What we are going to do is we will see, we are taking a hot substance and we are putting it in cold water. We will see how much amount of heat is lost by the hot substance, how much amount of heat is gained by the cold water. By principle of heat exchange, we know that the amount of heat lost is the amount of heat gained. Then using simple mathematics, arithmetic, algebra, we can find out the specific heat of that substance. The diagram of calorimeter is not given in the textbook. You don't need to draw, but you need to understand what exactly is happening in the calorimeter. It is just a container with some thermometers and water in it. How do we do? What is the logic? I just told you. Suppose Q is the heat lost by the hot substance that we are, of which we want to measure the specific heat. Now, some of that heat will be absorbed by water, Q1. And the water itself is in the calorimeter. So some of the heat will be absorbed by that calorimeter also by conduction. Let us say it is Q2, heat. So the total amount lost is Q, total amount gained is Q1 plus Q2. By the principle of heat exchange, Q equals to Q1 plus Q2. Not necessary for you to write Q2 plus Q1. You can also write Q1 plus Q2. And for each of these Q, we can find the heat by multiplying the mass by specific heat and increase or decrease of the temperature, delta T. The substance which is hot and it is losing energy, delta T will be negative. Water and the calorimeter, the temperature is increasing, they are colder, their temperature will increase, delta T will be positive. That is why these things are written: decrease, increase, increase. Let us take it a step forward and see how exactly this works using algebra. So we have three things. We have the substance, we have the water, we have the calorimeter. Suppose the mass of the substance is m, mass of water is m1, mass of calorimeter is m2. Suppose the specific heat of substance is C, which we do not know. We need to find this. We know the specific heat of water. We also know what this material is, calorimeter. We know this. We know the delta T because we measured the temperature. Now, in each of the case, our Q will be M into C into delta T. Our Q1 will be M1 into C1 into delta T1, and Q2 will be equal to M2 into C2 into delta T2. By principle of heat exchange, we are saying Q equals to Q1 plus Q2. That means MC delta T equals to M1 C1 delta T1 plus M2 C2 delta T2. Should we be afraid of this equation? Absolutely no. We know the mass of water, we know the specific heat of water, we know the temperature change in the water. We know the mass of the calorimeter, we know the specific heat of the calorimeter, we know the temperature change of the calorimeter. We know the mass of substance, we know the change in the temperature of the substance. The only thing that we do not know is the specific heat of the substance. What kind of equation is this? So if you take this mathematics to the final step, we are trying to find the specific heat of the substance. We can say it is M1 C1 delta T1 plus M2 C2 delta T2 by M into delta T. That's it. Which principle is used to measure the specific heat capacity of a substance? We will answer this and then we will go to the numerical question. Which principle? In the elaborate mathematical logic that we saw on the previous slide, what is the principle that we used? Specific heat is not a principle, it is a property. What is the principle that we use? Very good. We are using principle of heat exchange. That is why we are writing Q equals to Q1 plus Q2. Just the name. Answer the following, just the name. Principle of heat exchange. Done. Let us use that principle in a real life example. डरना नहीं है बिल्कुल भी. Example from your textbook. Example number 2 on page number 70 of the textbook. It says a copper sphere of 100 gram mass is heated to raise its temperature to 100 degrees Celsius and is released in water of mass 195 grams and temperature 20 degrees Celsius in a copper calorimeter. Copper is the substance, and copper is the substance that even the calorimeter is made up of. If the mass of the calorimeter is 50 grams, what will be the maximum temperature of water? Of course, the water will be heated. What is the maximum temperature of water? That is what is required. Bilkul darna nahi hai. 3 things we have: the substance, the water, and the calorimeter. Divide the question. Copper, water, calorimeter. Mass of copper is 100 grams. Mass of water is 195 grams. Mass of calorimeter is 50 grams. M मिल गया हमको. It says we need to find the maximum temperature. So we will use the specific heat of water and copper. Look at the table and tell me what is the specific heat of copper. Look at the table on page number 68. What is the specific heat of copper? Okay, so all of you are saying the same thing, that it is 0.095. It is calorie per gram degree Celsius. For water, it is 1. And for calorimeter, this calorimeter is also made up of the same copper. So we can say 0.95, 0.095. Same. What we do know now about the temperature. So we got the mass for all the three cases. We got the specific heat capacity, specific heat for all the three cases. Now we need to look at temperature. क्या है? The copper sphere of 100 gram mass is heated to this temperature. So if 100 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius with respect to copper, the substance is it T1 or T2? Hundred degrees Celsius with respect to the copper substance, is it T1 or T2? Is it the initial temperature or is it the final temperature? You are smart. All of you know this answer. Is it initial or is it final? Are you not able to tell me? We are heating the copper sphere to 100 degrees Celsius before we put it in the calorimeter. So is this T1 or T2? It is T1, correct? We are starting with that temperature. So for T1 for copper substance is 100 degrees Celsius. We don't know what is the final temperature. We don't know. So say it is T. Say it is T. So using this, the data in the first column, mass, specific heat, and the change in temperature, we can find the heat that is lost by copper. Look at the textbook. It says Q equals to 100 into 0.1. This 100 into 0.1. इसको हमने round कर दिया for ease of calculation. 0.095 is rounded to 0.01. 0.1, not 0.01, 0.1 multiplied by 100 minus T. Why is it 100 minus T? Why is it not T minus 100? Can you tell me why is it 100 minus T and not T minus 100? Because we said heat lost, heat gained is T2 minus T1, bada minus final minus initial. It is 100 minus T क्योंकि इसने heat lose किया है. If we have T minus 100, then it will be a negative number. Just to make it positive, we have done 100 minus T. We get Q. Now, although we don't know the final temperature of water, but we know the initial temperature of water, which is 20 degrees Celsius. है ना? water of mass 19.5 degrees and temperature 20 degrees Celsius. So we know that the initial temperature of water is 20 degrees Celsius. We don't know final temperature kitna hoga uska. Do we know or we don't know? That's one approximation that has been done in the question. That's fine. Once again, I clarify, you will not have to remember the specific heat of anything other than water. And water is one calorie per gram centigrade. Nothing to remember there. For all other substances, the question will tell you what the specific heat is. Don't worry. Right. Now, where are the temperatures? What is happening with that? Now, we know by principle of heat exchange, at the end, the heat exchange will stop when everything is at the same temperature. That means the final temperature of water will be at the same T that the substance will be, the copper substance. The final temperature of the calorimeter will also be T, because there will not be any heat exchange anymore. So all these T2s have to be T. The only thing that now remains is the initial temperature of calorimeter. This is the trickiest part, I believe, in the question. The T1 of the calorimeter is also 20 degrees Celsius. The same 20 degrees Celsius, which is the initial temperature of water, is also the initial temperature of the calorimeter. Kyun? If it was not same, uska matlab hai water and calorimeter ke beech mein hi there is some heat exchange. No, we are assuming that there is no such heat exchange between the calorimeter and the water. They are at the same temperature, room temperature. In this case, it is 20 degrees Celsius. So now we have Q1 and Q2. We will find Q with the formula 100 multiplied by 0.1 multiplied by, just to keep it positive, 100 minus T. We will find Q1 with the formula 195 into 1 into 20 minus T. No, it's not 20 minus T. It will be T minus 20. Bada minus chota, to keep it positive. Finally, Q2 will be 50 into 1 into T minus 20. And by the principle of heat exchange, we will say Q equals to Q1 plus Q2. देख लो, LHS, RHS, only one variable, T. So we write the equation, we solve the equation to find the value of T as 23.8 degrees Celsius. That's the answer. So in the beginning, the copper was at 100 degrees Celsius, water and calorimeter were at 20 degrees Celsius. At the end, everything was at the temperature of 23.8 degrees Celsius, maximum temperature of water. It will be 23.8 degrees Celsius. Maximum temperature of the calorimeter, 23.8 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature of the copper substance, 23.8 degrees Celsius. This is a new type of question which was added to your curriculum, to your syllabus in the year 2019. So this very much looks like a RC question, reading comprehension question. A situation is explained and then some questions are asked. Chan, please come out of mute and read the situation, explanation.
Heat is X. If If heat is exchanged between a hot and cold object, the temperature of the cold object goes on increasing due to the gain of energy, and the temperature of the hot object goes on decreasing due to loss of the energy. The change in the temperature continues till the temperature of the both objects attain the same value. In this process, the cold object gains heat energy and the hot object loses the heat energy. If the systems of the both the object is isolated from the environment by keeping it inside a heat resistance box, meaning that the energy exchange take place between the two objects only, then no energy can flow from inside the box or come into the box.
Thank you, Chanda. Okay. So this is just an example. It's a situation that we have already come across. We have seen how heat exchange works. We have already seen how the principle of heat exchange can also be used to calculate a property of the substance. Now look at the questions. Heat is transferred from where to where? What will be your answer? From where to where? What are the objects here? From hot object to the cold object. Very easy. Done. Second one. Which principle do we learn about from this process? What is the name of that principle? Once again, correct answer. Principle of heat exchange. Done. See how easy the question is. Everything is given in the question itself. We don't even need to remember. We just need to read, understand, and answer. Third, how will you state the principle briefly? How will you state? What will you say? In one line, not more than one line. It can be in a sentence form. It can also be in an equation form. What will you write? Very simply, we can say, okay, answer has come. Heat lost by the hot object equals to heat gained by the cold object. Done. Enough. Very good. Final. Which property of the substance is measured using this principle? Which property? Don't never confuse between property and principle. The principle is principle of heat exchange. Using that, we are measuring something else, specific heat or specific heat capacity. Done. So this is another type of question. With that, we have come to the end of the chapter. We have learned about latent heat. We have learned about the anomalous behavior of water. We studied measure it, units of measurement of heat, joules and calories. And today, in the current session, we understood what heat capacity is, what is the principle of heat exchange, and how do we measure specific heat. Please complete your notes, answer the questions that are there as examples, the example questions, and also answer the remaining questions of the exercise, that is 1B, 3, 7B, 8. We have already covered these 4 questions in the class now. The only thing that we haven't covered is question number 9, which is a question with 4 numerical questions. You will use the same logic. Q equals to M into C into delta T. Lots of maths, some bit of algebra, and you will be able to find the missing value. Complete and submit by tomorrow night.